What's going on, guys? Eric here again. Just wanted to do a quick video here. What it is April 1st, April Fool's Day, but ACY was no joke today for sure. So yeah, just want to recap this video here. It's going to be touching over bounce play in particular because this was an alert that was called out in the chat room. And I know a few of you guys had questions about it or don't really know about it, of course, since you're all new. So I wanted to kind of cover, the bounce play and what it actually is and, things like that. Just to kind of give you guys a little bit more insight of being able to recognize it, on your own. And, that way you can kind of have an idea of how you're going to, strategize towards it if you decide to, play that type of strategy and whatnot. So this video here will recap that for you, just to give you a better idea. And the reason why I wanted to do this, well, one, a couple people in the chat room messaged me and asked me to do it. And I did see a lot of you guys had questions about it, so I figured I'd do that for you real quick. But also I'll put this, out there for you guys to be able to review when you need to. But also too, for some strange reason, I'm surprised that I didn't see this out there on YouTube anywhere. I was searching, instead of me having to make a video, I was hoping that there was one already out there covering a bounce play. And the ones that I seen from, all the well-known traders out there, even lesser known traders, were either incorrect or didn't cover it at all. One was kind of close, but it was like on a massively long time frame. Which was strange to me. I mean, I remember reading about this in a book, the bounce play, but I'm surprised that no YouTube Euro, even the ones that I recommended to you guys in other video, covered this. Or maybe they do, and they just have it in like paid courses, which I mean, I guess is fine, but still, that's amazing that it's not out there. So I guess this will be, one of the ones that will be out there, for those of you who want to know about it. But you know, what we're going to cover here is the bounce play I called out with ACY. And go into that. That thing was a monster run. I made a couple grand on that thing today here. Played that stock like 4 times. One point I was up at like 84%. But anyways, guys, we'll go into that here in a second. But yeah, let's just kind of recap what a bounce play is. And just more details about that so that you guys can have a better understanding of it. And we'll go from there. Okay. So let's get started. Um, First and foremost, let's kind of identify what a bounce play is, what a true bounce play is, because listening, watching some of those videos that were out there, and you know, trying to hear those guys explain what it is, they were either way off base of what a bounce play really is, or some of them are mixing up a bounce play with other type of plays like a dip play, and that's not what it is. A bounce play is a bounce play. I've seen some gurus or so-called, experts explaining a dip and the stock going in between, still rising but going in between, time frames, saying, oh, this is a bounce play, when it's not a bounce play. You're actually just buying a dip on a stock that's trending up. So let's get into the nitty gritty and the real idea of what a bounce play is. Okay. So a bounce play is, it's not something that, it's not a bullish play. First and foremost, understand that. The best way to think about a bounce play was actually mentioned in the chat room as well too. I think Mike might have called it out, or I'm not sure who did, but someone did mention it. A bounce play is essentially a bearish play where the stock itself is making a bearish move and bouncing just like an actual basketball. And it's going back to its normal level. The best way to kind of picture a basketball play, sorry, a bounce play, is like thinking of a basketball. Imagine if you took a basketball and you threw it. How is it going to bounce? It's going to go boing, 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 boing. That's exactly how the stock moves. You guys got to remember that these stocks are essentially, the stocks themselves moves in wave. They move in waves. You just want to understand the pattern that they're going to move into. And the reason why it does that basically as well too is psychology. With stocks, that's something that's never going to change. Human psychology is never going to change, which of course, with human psychology, obviously different, AI programs, stuff like that, are going to play towards that as well too. But That's a little bit more detail. We're going to just focus on the actual play itself too. But that's what a bounce play is. It's a bearish pattern of a stock continuously going down. So let me to kind of give you a quick visual, guys. Picture, you have a basketball, right? Just pretend that's a little basketball. You throw the ball. What's it going to do? It's going to go boing, 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 right? Or boing, 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 boing. Pretty much it. That's a bounce play, just like a basketball if you were to throw it. That's exactly what happened here. And we're going to go into how that played out after the run up. Like I say all the time, guys, just as quickly as stocks go up, they're going to go down. Okay. Um, no stock is impervious for that. And as far as how far it goes up and goes down, depends on a lot of different factors. But you should have that idea that that's going to happen. Okay. So, and then we'll go into how did I realize that that was a bounce play at that point, in more detail as well too. So let's kind of first start out. Let's cover the whole entire stock. I mean, let's see here. It was alerted. Let's see what time it was alerted. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Alerts are still going off. It's still after hours. Let's go up to here. Let's see here. So ACY was alerted. I think when it came out with the halt, I believe that's when we got that first alert. Yeah, right here, 467. Right. So let me move that out the way. Let's see here, 467, and that was at what time? What time was that? 6:35 a.m. Man, that was early, early, right here. Jeez, this is why there was so much profit made on this bad boy today. So, guys, keep in mind too. A lot of you might not know as well too. The reason why it ran so much, well, not one of the reasons why it ran so much, aside from I mean, these guys just filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy a few days ago. Um, I mean, this thing was pretty much running off pure momentum alone. Um, so keep that in mind. But also, too, that these are low flow stocks. This particular was a very, very low float stock. You should have been expecting this to run. If you don't know what a low float is, go back in the course, review what that is and all that good stuff. But yeah, um, when we put all this stuff together, you understand, more of that. But anyways, so this right here, guys, is when the alert went off, right? So I can actually, let me do this here, make it a little bit easier for you. And I'll speed up. We won't be in this thing too long here, hopefully. So let me play that and let it go through. So the stock went off. Boom, boom, boom. Trend changed, went down. We all thought it was done, but started to turn, started to come up. Still didn't break previous resistance. So usually around this time, guys, too, what you should be doing when the alert goes off, if you're looking at a stock, you should be looking at levels of support and resistance, which means going back into bigger time frames. Okay, let me pause this here. You should be going back looking at bigger time frames. This is again 1 minute because I trade the 1 minute. You guys don't have to trade the 1 minute. You can trade the 5 minute, 10 minute, 30 minute, whatever you want. Now, when I say go back looking at support and resistance, as far as the time frame in which you do it, doesn't matter. You can do that based on your comfortability of trading. It was even mentioned in the chat room before that ACY has ran to $30 before. Now where do you see previous, resistance? Right here, and it broke that easily. I mean, a few minutes after, and then you got support right there from previous support. Okay, so let me go back into our minute time frame here. Let this thing continue. Like I said, we're focusing on the bounce play portion of this. We're not focusing on reading a chart, finding a breakout. You should already know a lot of that from any other tutorials I do, as far as entries and exits. But this is pretty much how this bad boy is playing out. When did I call the bounce play? Let's take a look here. I called it around, let's see, right here, 11:06 is when I said, hey, this thing is starting to bounce. Now, whether you're in the stock at that point because FOMO kicked in and you jumped in super late, I mean, or whether you're looking at it and was deciding to play and you weren't in, you should, with a bounce play coming up, you should be like, okay, well, let me change my strategy or let me, strategize how I'm gonna play this if I'm going to play this. Okay. So at this point here, it's around what 10:30. You know, everyone's taking their game, especially around this part here. Now, let me pause this because it's starting to come up here. Yeah, that's a lot of red candles here, right? So you know it's a big sell-off. Okay. So that right there should let you know, okay, this thing is starting to wind down. Volume is dying. The trend is changing. Yeah, I don't have the other indicators up on here, but you should have been able to see that along with other things like the price level um, action as well too, a level two. But let's keep that playing. Now the trend changed right here, right? So at this point, you should know, okay, it's getting stopped out here continuously, right? Right? Okay, perfect. So you know that. So you know at this point, unless something happens, it's probably not going to break. I mean, the trend is green. That's showing you that's probably the highest it's going to go. Now the trend's got to turn red. So what is it going to do? It's going to get lower, right? So at this point, it looked like it tried to form a type of cup of handle, but it didn't. It didn't do it. So let me press play here. Speed that up a little bit. And at this point, guys, when the trend turned green again and it failed to get even higher, I said, okay, this thing is just, you can look at it and tell that it's bouncing at this point, because now after it's green, what is it going to do? It's got to turn red, so it's got to go even lower. Basically, it's doing just like a basketball. The highs are becoming lower and lower and lower. It's not leveling out. It's not bear flagging because there's no flag here. This is just simple die down of the stock, bounce play. Okay, there was no shot straight up, super up, type flagpole. This thing gradually grew. I was holding this thing for a long time. I was getting very impatient. You guys know I don't like to hold my stocks for a long time, but I'm like, 1 million float, previously bankruptcy catalyst, FOMO's going to kick in. This thing is going to it's going to fly. So I'm going to hold it. Patience paid off, and it definitely did. Um, I'll post the actual results in the Facebook group for you guys here in a second for the profits and gains. But yeah, I mean, at this point here, guys, I seen that coming just because I know that this thing was dying down. The price action was dying down, volume was dying down. The chart was telling me, hey, I'm getting tired. So I said, hey, look, guys, 11:06. I said, hey, it's a bounce play. And what happened? Sure enough, at 11:06, right there, look, from 11:06, boom, boom, 11:06, boom, it bounced and bounced. Okay, so at that point, if I'm calling it out, or even if you see that, you either want to, if you're in the stock and you bought it high, you want to start to plan to try to get out and cut your loss quickly before it gets worse, which it did. This is the end of the day. Okay. Um, so you could have saved yourself a lot of headache, especially right before this part. If I'm telling you at like that time frame, and I usually don't like to call those out because I don't want the alerts to affect your trading strategy. You know, um, you know, to where it messes you up. You need to have a plan. But if I'm telling you, hey, I'm seeing this, it could be potentially this. You might want to take that with a grain of salt to a certain extent. So if depending on where you got in, because I know some of you guys probably might have let FOMO kicked in and you went and got in right here. I mean, that's a big $15 move all the way down to almost 11. That's a $4 move. I mean, depending on how many shares you got, you could be losing 400. You could have been up, a certain amount, but it doesn't matter. But you had time. I mean, 11:06, you're being told it's a bounce play. You got a whole almost hour before you need to start planning your exit if you're a bullish trader, and you know find a way to cut your loss as quickly as you can, or if you're a bearish trader, hey, start finding the top so you can start shorting that bad boy. I know a couple of you guys messaged me and said, yeah, you shorted it as soon as you called the bounce, as soon as I called the bounce play, which is good. I couldn't find any locates on this bad boy, but if you did, great, good for you. Kudos. So that's pretty much how I was able to do it. And someone asked, how do you know where it's going to bounce to? Well, it's pretty simple. I mean, your old resistance. That's why I say you want to look at support and resistance when you're going into the trade, because your old resistance is going to become your new support. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back into the rest of the course, go look at those support and resistance videos. If you don't have that, look some up, or but you need to know that. And what I mean by that is old levels of resistance becomes new level of support. If you can't find it on that minute chart time frame that you're trading, easy, zoom out, guys. Let's go to 3 minutes. Do you see any level of support and resistance from previous days? Yeah, you can see some right here. Let me do this here. Boom. That's a previous resistance level. Can you see? If you can't find it here, then what do you do? Zoom out some more. Another level. Still can't find it? Zoom out some more. Okay? So hopefully by now you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying. Look at this. That's exactly where it's roughly bouncing to. New resistance, new support because of the older level. Look at that. I mean, just let the chart talk to you guys. Look at that. That's exactly where it was bouncing to. You go back into the 1 minute time frame so you can probably see it. See that there? Boom. Called it 1106. I don't I don't know how much simpler this can get. You know, again, studying those patterns and recognizing this stuff, it all come together. I'm making this as much easy as I can for you guys to start to understand it, but you're gonna have to put this stuff together so you can start recognizing things like this. And again, being caught at 1106, I say, hey, this thing is about to bounce. Boom, 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 boom. It's gonna, and to be honest with you, if you're holding this stock overnight, I feel sorry for you because it's probably gonna do nothing but keep going down. I mean, these guys just filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty simple. To find out, to kind of get a better idea of where a stock in the bounce play is going to be bouncing to, look at the older previous resistance levels, because that is typically going to be where it's bouncing from, because you're going to still have your old buyers and old sellers and things like that. That deals with a lot with the psychology of stocks and stock trading with sellers and things like that, and we'll go into more detail with that. But yeah, finding that old level of support and resistance, plotting accordingly will help you out a lot. So understand that. Look at that. Even the different levels right here would have gave you some good ideas of what to do. So yeah, guys, those help you out a lot. Doing support and resistance. When I started out, I was not very disciplined at finding levels of support and resistance. Now I do, but just on a shorter time frame because I can recognize a lot more quicker than most of you probably can now. Um, but you want to get in the habit of, boom, an alert goes off. Let me go back and look at a longer time frame than what I'm in now. If I'm in the 5 minute, I want to look at the 10 minute, 15 minute, 20 minute, 30 minute, and look at levels of support and resistance. Always go back to look at the bigger picture because that's going to help you with the smaller picture. Okay. Um, Understand that. Let me kind of address some of the questions that you guys had as well too. Um, because it was a lot of them, but to give you guys an idea as well too. When do bounce plays don't work? Uh, so there are times that this isn't a foolproof play because there could be instances where you might have unusual price action that would cause a bounce play not to work. It could be some midday news that might happen, like an offering might come out at the time, and that's going to cause it to just shoot straight down. Where it's not the stock is not going to bounce; it's just going to flat out drop. Happens, um, and that's something you got to be prepared for as a trader. Just comes with the territory. Those factors are unknown. Companies can do offerings whenever they want, and affect the stock price dramatically. I've seen that happen before too. So Bounce plays aren't foolproof. And it typically happens in cycles. For example, like now, it happened in the cycle of the stock dying down throughout the day. It happens long term and longer terms as well too in bearish markets. So that's why you as a trader need to learn to be versatile, um, and be able to not only go long but go short as well too, to still continuously make money in the market. Um, but yeah, normally bouncing off key support levels is what happens with bounce plays. Um, Old levels of resistance become new levels of support, and it's going to be bouncing off of there. And you can strategize that however you want for you as a trader that makes you feel comfortable, whether you long it or short it. But yeah, that's what pretty much happened. And I believe right here is where a halt came in as well too, and it halted to the downside. You guys know, you should know, with halts, whenever there's more of a 10% change within a 5 minute time frame, SEC is going to halt the stock. And with something like this that's very low float, 1 million share, 5 million shares of a free float stock, hands, the with that much volume, that stock is going to change more than 10% very quickly. That's why I was halted like 50 times throughout the day. I was getting annoyed with having them have to alert that the stock is being halted, um, you know, because it changed so rapidly. So you got to understand that, okay? Um, but yeah, I mean that pretty much breaks it down. How bounce play is and how it plays out. Like I said, one of the big questions that a lot of you guys asked me was, "Hey, how did you recognize that that was a bounce play?" Pretty simple. Momentum was dying down. Price action was lighting up on level two. The MACD indicator was indicating that, hey, it's reaching its point. And looking back at key levels of support and resistance, I can tell that it wasn't having enough strength to move past where it was. So it's going to naturally start to die down unless something happened and some news came out to make it drop quickly. It was just going to bounce all the way down, just like a basketball. That's why the alert has a basketball next to it. It's going to bounce and bounce and bounce and bounce because there's no hands that's going to come and make it, dribble up some more. Like Mike was saying in the in the chat room, which is pretty cool. Pretty good analogy. So yeah, um, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope that helps you with understanding a bounce play, and give you some ideas of how to be able to trade that. If you have any questions about it, feel free to message me. Ask me some questions, especially before moving on to any other sections of the course that I'm making for you guys. But yeah, other than that, let's stay green, guys. It's April kicking off. Hopefully, this bloody March is done and we can, start making some more money again. All right, you guys stay green.